Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into some fascinating material. It's drawn from your sources, specifically looking at excerpts from Guns, Germs, and Steel.
hmm
We're trying to focus on the surprising ways that language and technology have shaped history. Our mission really is to pull out the key insights, help understand why some societies developed writing and advanced tech faster than others. Was it just genius or something else entirely?
It's a huge question, definitely. And these sources, they offer some really compelling answers. We're going to unpack things like geography, food production, population dynamics, and even how invention itself works, how these acted as, catalysts or maybe barriers. Get ready for maybe a few aha moments that might just reframe how you think about human progress.
Okay, let's jump right in then. The sources kick off with this really interesting question. Why did writing only show up or get adopted in some places? It's not just about simple communication, is it? The sources suggest something, well, deeper.
Exactly, that's a key point. What's fascinating is how one source describes writing as, fundamentally, a tool of conquest. It was vital for, transmitting instructions, organizing armies, managing empires, all that, which really highlights its practical, powerful role way beyond just, keeping records.
Right, that idea of writing as an instrument of power, not just passive record keeping. That really shifts things. But, okay, how did these complex systems actually spread? Was it always like a direct copy-paste?
Yeah.
Or more subtle?
Yeah.
The sources mention two concepts, blueprint copying and idea diffusion. Can you break those down for us?
Yeah, it's a really important distinction for understanding how innovation travels. Blueprint copying is pretty much what it sounds like. You take an existing system and use it directly, maybe with small changes, like following instructions. Idea diffusion, though, that's different. It's more like grasping the idea of writing itself, but then inventing the actual specifics yourself. So you're inspired by the idea, but you build your own unique system.
Got it. So it's not just what was invented, but how it moved between cultures. And the sources seem to stress that classifying these things, these writing systems, helps us understand them better, right? Looking at the different types seems quite revealing. Let's get into those types.
Exactly right. Classifying them helps us see the underlying logic, maybe why some spread easier or worked better for certain things. The sources basically lay out three main types. First, alphabets. That's where symbols stand for individual sounds, phonemes, like English letters or Korean Hangul. Many European languages, too.
Okay, alphabets. Makes
Yep.
sense. What else?
Then you have logograms, or word symbols. Here, one symbol represents a whole word. Think about Chinese characters,
Yeah.
or ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, Mayan glyphs, Sumerian cuneiform requires a huge memory load.
Wow, yeah, one symbol per word. Okay, and the third type.
That would be syllabaries. In this system, a single symbol represents a whole syllable. The sources use Japanese kana as a key example, with its kakeki-koku kind of structure.
Right, kana. Okay. So alphabets, logograms, syllabaries. Now, the sources really seem to single out Hangul, the Korean alphabet. They call it superb.
Yeah.
What makes it so special, according to them? Sounds quite distinct.
Hangyu. It's described as just a brilliant example of idea diffusion. Its development was definitely influenced by contact with other writing systems nearby. You can see hints of Chinese character shapes, Mongolian script, maybe Tibetan Buddhist scripts, alphabetic ideas. But what's truly remarkable, as the sources point out, is the design itself. It's incredibly logical. The consonants are actually shaped to mimic the position of your mouth and tongue when you make the sound, and they combine neatly with vowels into syllable blocks. It's, very clever. The sources even include a poem, Kim So-wol Sanyuwa, just to show how elegant and efficient it is.
It's fascinating. The shape mimicking the sound production.
Yeah.
Okay, so if writing is this powerful tool enabling conquest, complex societies, why did some really impressive civilizations like the Inca Empire never develop it? The sources seem keen to tackle this and maybe debunk some common ideas.
Yeah, this brings us to a really important question about these disparities, and the sources are very clear. It wasn't about race or intelligence. That's a misconception. Instead, it often boiled down to, simply not having enough time for invention or adoption to take root. Look at the Inca Empire. It's on a continent with a strong north-south axis, right? Lots of geographical barriers, mountains, deserts, jungles. That meant limited contact and exchange between cultures. It also really slowed down the start and spread of agriculture compared to Eurasia.
So the geography affected food production too.
Directly. Fewer food surpluses meant it took longer for specialized roles to emerge, artisans, soldiers, bureaucrats, the kinds of roles that often drive and use writing. And remember, writing often starts very basically, keeping track of grain, maybe loans, taxes. If those basic record-keeping needs were only just developing when, say, the Spanish arrived with their established system, the indigenous system just didn't have the centuries needed to mature fully.
So the timing was just
Yeah,
interrupted before it could fully develop.
exactly. It's like comparing development timelines. Some had a huge head start. The sources also mention other factors, like how isolated some societies were, or even just conservatism resisting new ideas sometimes, all contributing factors.
That paints a much more complex picture than just some people were smarter. It's about environment, timing, diffusion. Okay, so let's shift this framework to technology more broadly. Let's ask similar big questions. Why did Europeans develop things like, say, ocean-going ships or iron metallurgy faster than peoples in the New World? Was it just necessity is the mother of invention? Or maybe down to a few great individuals?
Right, and we see similar factors at play here as with writing. It connects. The sources point to things like, again, the start time of food production. Earlier start means more time for development. Geographical barriers are huge. Again, mountains, seas, deserts, slowing the spread of ideas and tech, and also just the sheer size and density of populations. More people means more potential inventors, more competition, faster spread within the region. Eurasia had advantages here. Earlier agriculture, faster domestication, and critically, that east-west axis. This allowed crops, animals, and technologies to spread relatively easily across similar climates, much harder north-south.
It really sounds like a snowball effect.
Sure.
Or maybe a positive feedback loop.
That's a great way to put it. The sources actually call it a self-catalyzing characteristic of technology. Technology essentially begets more technology. It accelerates. It's a sort of rich get richer situation. Think about metallurgy. The Iron Age in China and the Fertile Crescent didn't just appear. It came after like 2,000 years of working with bronze, refining techniques. Meanwhile, the New World was really just starting to get good at bronze when Europeans arrived with advanced iron tech. That arrival effectively cut short the potential for independent development of iron there.
Wow. So the pre-existing technological base was crucial.
Hugely. And also, the sources stress the importance of combining different technologies and materials. Like printing in Europe. Its rapid spread wasn't just the printing press invention, it was the combination. The press, plus cheap paper becoming available, movable type, advances in metallurgy for the type, better inks, existing screw press designs adapted, all coming together.
It's the convergence, not just one single invention in isolation. The sources say this realization that these different starting points and accumulated advantages lead to such vast differences is, quote, frightening. And it really makes you think, doesn't it, about how critical adopting new ideas quickly can be. You mentioned resistance to new ideas.
Yes, and there's a striking example in the sources about that. Japan in the 1600s, they actually adopted firearms, rifles pretty quickly and effectively. They even improved on European designs for a while, but then the samurai-led government essentially banned them for about 200 years. Why? Largely to preserve the traditional samurai way of fighting their social status. It's a stark illustration of how social or political choices resisting a powerful new technology can completely change a society's path.
For 200 years.
Wow.
And the sources suggest this isn't uncommon, failing to adapt.
History is, unfortunately, full of examples. Societies that didn't or couldn't embrace impactful new technologies often ended up, well, subjugated by those that did. It's a tough lesson about the importance of openness to innovation, maybe.
Absolutely. We've covered a huge amount today. From the purpose of writing, different systems like Hangul, to these really complex non-racial explanations for why some civilizations had certain technologies earlier than others. It really does make you appreciate how deeply intertwined history, geography, agriculture, technology, all of it is.
Indeed. And I think the key takeaway from these sources is that knowledge is most valuable when it's understood in context, right?
Right.
It's not about inherent superiority of any group. It's this complex interplay, geography, food, population, the way technology builds on itself. That's what seems to dictate the pace. Understanding that framework is, I think, pretty crucial for making sense of history and maybe even the present.
Yeah. And the sources kind of leave us hanging with a big thought, don't they?
Sure.
If these factors created such huge disparities in the past, what does keeping up even mean today? In our world where technology accelerates so incredibly fast, how do we apply these lessons about diffusion? Maybe about overcoming geographic or metaphorical barriers now? How do we foster innovation and ensure, a truly human-like life for everyone when the pace of change itself is maybe the biggest challenge? Definitely something to think about until our next deep dive.